Good morning, everybody. And I'm all alone today. Hey, Will Hungerford here, game developer at Privateer Press, and you are watching the Soloford edition of Development Chat. We are at Privateer Press. We stream 3 times a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, always at 10 a.m. Pacific. Let me talk about the shows real fast. Tuesday is Weekly Rumble. Yesterday, I believe we played some Company of Iron, Oz and JR. This is where we get together and we sort of like play the games that we make and have fun and chit-chat with you, and you can cheer on your favorite staffers and boo your most hated staffers. On Wednesday, Developer Hangout. Usually we talk about CID, but we also talk about other cool things happening with the games we're making. Typically, it's myself, Pagani, and Oz, but they have abandoned me, and now I'm all alone. But I've got you here in the chat, so we'll be having some fun with that. And then Thursday is my personal favorite show we do. Get your paint on with Dallas Camp. Dallas paints, builds, converts, and goes over hobby tips and tricks with everybody. It's a great show. So we are streaming live. We stream on Twitch at twitch.tv/privateerpress. And then we upload these videos later on YouTube at youtube.com/privateerpressprime. I've got these big chat screens up in front of me. So I'll be talking to people throughout the chat because I'm so alone right now. So if while you're watching this on YouTube, I'm just sort of looking over here and just making up names and saying things, I'm not crazy. I'm talking to everybody over there. Speaking of Oz and Pagani, normally here, they're gone. They're going to be at Attack X this weekend, I do believe, is where they are. And also, Pagani just has a baby. He has a baby Gani, so sometimes he's able to make it in, but not this time. So before we get into what we're talking about today, which is going to be the Tharn CID Week 3 update, let's talk about some cool stuff going on here at Privateer Press. One of the first things we want to talk about is the current mini crates. So we've got the Red Riding Rose mini crate, which is this month's mini crate. And there's also the new VIP model, which is if you subscribe at any point during the next 6 months, when your next mini crate model comes up, you get the VIP model, which is Alexia, Handmaiden of Death. You can go to mini-crate.com to sign up, either for a single month or to get the subscription. There's no reason not to get the subscription. Get the Alexia, and then you get like 6 more sweet, sweet models. There's only a week left, by the way, to get the Lady Rose Riding Hood, though, because that mini crate model ends on the 19th, and then the next model is going to get shown. Have we shown what the next model is yet?
Nope.
Ooh, is it a secret?
Oh, wait, you're not alone, because I'm here.
Hey, John.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. It's just me in the chat and John. Hey, everybody. Let's talk about that mustache. We'll get to that later. I have a plan. So yeah, you have 1 week to sign up if you want little Lady Rose Riding Hood. Even if you don't play Grimkin, it's just a sweet model. So in addition, you may have heard that we're going to make some Legend of the Five Rings models. We're going to have a Legend of the Five Rings mini crate. You want to go sign up for the email for that to get more information. And you can do that by going to mini-crate.com/L5R. We've already shown off the first model. It's super, super sweet. Paint job's great.
I've seen a preview of what might be the next ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening.
I mean, yeah,
it's so good.
Legend of the Five Rings is a huge storied, it's got so much lore and so much setting and so much just like flavor to it. And now seeing these miniatures brought to life by our wonderful sculptors and painters here is just truly a treat. So if you're a fan of L5R or if you're just a fan of like sweet ass ninjas and samurai, go pick it up.
And Shugenja and, all the others, courtiers, like, it's going to be dope.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and talk about what we're talking about this week. First off, like I mentioned, if you're going to Attack X this weekend, we got some people going. Oz is going. Pagani's going, I do believe.
And JR.
And JR's going. So if you're going to be at Attack X, those 3 will be there. They will be on their best behavior. They'll be playing games. Go throw down with them. Try out some of the new Circle CID stuff with them. Try out the Week 3 changes. Show Pagani and Oz directly what you think about the new Storm Raptor.
Caw-caw!
Yes. Additionally, there's been a lot of questions recently with the release of... we did a weekly Rumble on the stream a couple weeks back before I was going on my road trip. That we saw Schick playing a Dracodile in Extreme Colossal Wrestling, and people were wondering what's going on. Just to give everybody a heads up, if you are a fan of Extreme Colossal Wrestling, which is the sort of mini game that came out in No Quarter, which has been very, very popular, you can look forward to a new expansion coming up that's going to have rules for the Dracodile, a.k.a. Swampy Pete, the Vulcan, a.k.a. Locomotion, and the Sea King, a.k.a. the Big Skipper. So that'll be coming out soon, and that'll be available on our website. So let's get right into CID, shall we? Because I was on an 8-day road trip. I started growing this mustache. We're just going to see where that goes. We're going to let that go for a while. We'll let chat decide what I do with it.
On your face.
Yes. Now I'm back. I caught up with CID, met up in the dev meeting, kind of got caught up with everybody, pitched some crazy things, and then they got through. We're going to talk about that later. But first, let's talk about Iona. So the first change that happened was Iona the Unseen got 2 changes, one minor, one larger. The first change is that the part of her feat, which allows friendly warrior models to reroll, got specified to friendly faction. There was an oversight, to be honest. They should have not been affecting minion models. What's interesting about this feat, and what I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more people do in the battle reports, is it is friendly faction warrior attack rolls. It's not melee. So while Iona is obviously a very powerful Tharn caster, there's some weird stuff you always want to test. Even if it isn't the most immediate synergy, what does Iona with like mass druids and mass magic attacks do with that feat having rerolls? Probably not the most, it's nothing I'm worried about, but I'm waiting to see if someone does a battle report where they try that out just to see. Because a lot of those battle reports where someone's like, I'm going to try this crazy idea and try this really kind of corner case synergy can often have some good information. The other thing is Abattoir went down to cost 2. Abattoir is a little bit more corner case, obviously, than broadsides, being that it's melee attacks versus ranged attacks. It was kind of underperforming. It is still a strong spell because if someone runs up to jam your beasts, Iona goes first, you cast Abattoir, they kill them, and then they can charge out. I mean, it's got strong application. But it was a little bit much at 3, so we decided to just drop it a point and see how that's working. Let's see what everyone is talking about currently. Are there any other things on Iona that you guys have your eyes on right now? Cheddar Caveman asks. I mean, we're still watching all the current sort of battle reports and seeing how she's operating. We've seen a lot of people say that they feel that she's a little passive in the early game, that she's good, she's doing things, but that she's not like super active. The thing is, Iona is, I think there might be a misconception that Iona is this like crazy, super powerful combat warlock, right? Like she's not going to be Chromac 2. She has a lot of great support abilities, and then in terms of a warlock, she is amazing late game in terms of just getting up there and getting work done. So if she's not leading from the front lines, that's okay. She is kind of a midfield support caster early on with the capability to transition into a much stronger late game cleanup caster. So we're just keeping an eye on what she's doing and how her support abilities are working for the Tharn, and that she has a good place. Morvahna the Autumn Blade saw a change that came straight from the CID forums that is it's pretty spicy, everybody. So two big changes. First off, she picked up Mortality. So people have been asking for Mortality on Morvahna for a while, especially Morvahna 1. And we got the new Arcable ability with Brenos. You've got other ways of arcing spells. It's something we're keeping a very, very close eye on. I think it's good. I think it's incredibly strong. I think it's something unique in Circle that gives Morvahna 1 a very distinct place within the faction, and we'll see her get some more table time. But Mortality is not a spell you throw around lightly. It's definitely one of the more powerful spells, and you have to be very careful about which factions you put it in. So we are going to be paying a ton of attention to Morvahna 1 battle reports. The other thing that is really interesting is that Restoration and Regrowth got folded into 1. This was to just make her more efficient in what she's trying to do from turn to turn. Kind of harkens back to almost like old Mark 1 Morvahna with some of these changes, in my opinion. But so that change, I think, is more likely to stick, the Restoration, Regrowth folding. I'm not saying Mortality won't make it, but I'm saying if you're part of the CID, you need to get out there right now and show us what Mortality can do on all sides. Show us if you think it's good enough, because we could be wrong. Maybe like Mortality was not the right answer. Maybe there's something better that she needs. Not necessarily more powerful, but just better for what she's doing. Or maybe Mortality is completely busted. By the way, if you are wondering how to sign up and you haven't done it, cid.privateerpress.com. You go there, you sign up, you can see all the rules, get all the rules PDFs, look at all the concept art, chat with other people about theory and list building, and then more importantly, post your battle reports. And posting battle reports is the primary source of feedback we look at, because there's so much feedback. It is priority 1. So posting those is the best way to let us know what you think. Riker's Iron says, you wish she had a new sculpt. Didn't Morvahna 1 get a new sculpt at some point? Isn't she on sculpt 2? I've been doing this for a long time. I can't remember if she's already on sculpt 2 or if she's still sculpt 1. I thought Morvahna 1 had a resculpt. I could be crazy, though.
Probably crazy.
Probably crazy. Friendly Troll Painter. I'm not looking forward to an army of wolves casting mortality on my whole army.
Show us what happens when that happens.
Yeah. Like I said, keeping a very close eye on it. Next up was a change to Brenos, which I think is super cool. So let me tell you where the change from Brenos. Brenos picked up Battle Wizard. Why did Brenos pick up Battle Wizard? So there had been some calls for Brenos' abilities, his spells, to be something that he was forced to do. This allowing him to still make his attacks and then force, like a kind of a very specific geomancy. Like he'd have his own spell abilities and then he could run up, make his attacks, charge, blah, blah, blah. We thought that was a bit too much. That's not exactly what we wanted to do. So we wanted him to still have the ability to get in melee and then get a spell off and make additional attacks. And we realized that Battle Wizard was the perfect way to do that. So now Brenos, while he's not the combat satyr extraordinaire, if he is fighting, you don't have to use a special action necessarily to cast your spell, giving up all your initials. You anyway. So we hope that change sort of fixes what people wanted to see with him, gives him a little bit more value, and makes him a little bit more efficient. Let's see what chat is talking about for a second. I heard you guys, so JP Great One says, I heard you guys get a ton of feedback posts as opposed to battle reports. Aren't those supposed to be backed up with bat reps? There's a lot of discussion in theory and list building, which can lead to some good talks. There are some good conversations that happen, and there are some that are not useful to us, especially wish listing and things like that, or things that get too far off the rails. Battle reports are the best, by far. Whether you can post photos of your game, whether you cannot post photos of your game, what's really important is that you're able to paint us a clear picture of what happened. So not everything has to have like the top-down view or sort of the graphic displays of what's going on. Even if you're just using text only and describing to us from turn to turn and giving us information about why things were performing the way they did, your experience, your opponent's experience, and then sort of the color rating at the end. That by far is the most important thing. And then the type form you fill out when you submit a battle report that has the 1 to 5 star rating. That is super useful. That information, we're able to take that data and really sort of like put it together in a very nice, clean way that when we as the development team look through all the information from CID, it's that type form and the battle reports that get looked at first. So I would say have your conversations in theory and list building. There's a lot of good stuff, and it gives people good ideas of what to go test. But those tests need to lead to battle reports. One Up Kid says Calamity might be better a choice than Mortality. Oof, maybe, but that's what we want to see right now. How rough is Mortality? It might stick. It might stick. Yimithor asks, what are your opinions on Morvahna's one's feat? She has not all feats are made the same. We know that, right? Some characters have very powerful feats, some characters are utterly defined by their feats, and some characters have weaker feats that don't do as much. Morvahna 1 has a very utility mid-power, low to mid-power, I would say, feat. I think what we want to do is everything else that she's doing from turn to turn kind of makes up for that, makes her an interesting character, and that's why Mortality may be okay. Like her feat has application most of the time, but not everyone does. And you can apply that to a lot of things, especially as there's more and more models in the game. Krios 1. Everybody knows what Krios 1's feat does, right? And knock everybody down. And back in the day, like that feat was bonkers good. And as the game has gone on and more anti-knockdown and more things that, could get around the ability of knockdown have come out, like that feat has gotten weaker and weaker. But that doesn't mean that Krios 1's a bad caster, because he still does a lot of other things. So how do I feel about Morvahna's 1's feat? We're pretty happy with what the feat does, and we understand the relative power level of what the feat is, and to make sure that the rest of her toolbox is still good. Let's move on to the Shadowhorn Satyr. This is a pretty quick one. He went up a point. He was simply overperforming. We swung that pendulum just a tad too low. Being 11 points, he was too good. So we're interested to see people's feedback on their army lists they're using based on his new point cost, where they think he's shaking out, if they're still feeling that he's viable. So we're pretty happy with him at 12. I would be very surprised if it goes back down to 11. But we'll see what everyone does. Now for like the spiciest change of this entire CID week, and my personal happy one, John, because I pitched a crazy idea, we discussed it, and it got through. Let's talk about the Storm Raptor, everybody. So the Storm Raptor got very significant changes. First off, one was almost like a technical one, which is that Skyfire lasts for a round. That was how it was supposed to be. That was just a quick almost like typo change. I mean, he's got Plasma Nimbus. We had wanted it to last for the whole round. The gun changed drastically. So first off, the gun's range 14 now. Lightning Generator is gone. And the thing I pitched, and I just want to say I wish Pagani was here, because when I pitched this idea, the look on Pagani's face was one of the most precious things I've ever seen in my life. I was like, what if we just make it a big thunderhead? What if we give it Energy Pulse? And then we talked about it, thought about the ideas of what it does, and we realized it's really cool. It makes him kind of into a little nuke. So he lost the Lightning Generator, picked up Energy Pulse, picked up Sustained Fire, and got Reload 2. So now the bird goes in, speed 7, and just thematically, that just looks cool in my brain. He comes down and just bringing the storm with him. Gameplay-wise, there's nothing really like that in Circle. The area of influence that this thing has in terms of wiping out sort of chaff infantry is absurd. The thing is, the Storm Raptor is not the most durable gargantuan. If he walks up and does that, even with Deceptively Mobile, you're probably still going to lose him, depending on what your opponent's got, if you don't position correctly. Like, enough heavies or definitely another gargantuan or colossal into him, he might drop. And so using the tactical nuke option, because he may be huge base, but Energy Pulse is still only 6 inches, and it's POW 12, which is different than the POW of the gun, so it goes up to a 14 with the Skyfire, you're going to kill a lot of light infantry. Make no mistake. But you might lose your Raptor unless you position correctly. So some people immediately saw this change, and I think they saw it on paper, and they're like, oh my god, it's insane, it's entirely too much. But really, play a couple games with it. Like, give it a shot. When it happens, it's cool, but I bet you most of the games you play, it'll either happen and you will have to either position correctly or trade something in to protect your Storm Raptor, or it may not come up, let's be honest. If your opponent's bringing a certain kind of list, you might not see it. Now, there is also the Assassin application. If you can set it up to where you can walk up an Energy Pulse to land the Sustained Fires on the reload shots, that's amazing. I mean, it's basically like a super Thunderhead, right? But you are paying a lot of points for it. So we are aware of the cool assassination potential of the Storm Raptor. And if your Storm Raptor can get its big butt in a position to Energy Pulse their caster and then reload twice Sustained Fire, cool. That's super awesome. We're okay with that. Let's see what chat's talking about real quick regarding all this.
JP Great One said that he thinks it's not that insane. He's played it twice now.
JP Great One, I hope you have some battle reports that you put up for us. I see a couple people talking to me using the term little applied to a gargantuan. You know, it's just a little nuke. It's just a little electrical nuke. That's all it is. Man, people with Kruger in this thing is going to be ridiculous. Just being able to make your own guys immune to electricity is going to be phenomenal. Hobby Samurai, I would like Rate of Fire 2+1 as well. Let us know why. I don't agree with you, but play some battle reports, get in the TNL section, let us know your thoughts in an area where we as the development team can review them, discuss them, especially with the Energy Pulse edition. So kind of give us your dissertation on why Rate of Fire 2 is what you want. Skeletal, hey Hungerford, just asking how can we submit feedback for units that are not currently in the CID cycle? You can't. We actually don't want people submitting feedback for things that are not on the CID PDF. That's when we get into a lot of wish listing. That's when we get into, we have to keep things focused. Every CID cycle is a very focused beast. And there's a lot of signal to noise ratio. And if we let people start doing feedback on anything they want in the factions quickly, we would lose the value of this. So by keeping it sort of like the blinders on and saying, these are the models we're looking at, it helps us get the best feedback and data we possibly can. So that doesn't mean that the units you want to provide feedback on won't see their time. They absolutely probably will. They absolutely probably will. Nailed it. But not in the CID cycle, please. What are my thoughts on the range 14 gun with Deceptively Mobile? That sounds awesome. Sounds like he's not super durable when things get to him, and him being able to fly around, shoot things, and then dance around the board is probably pretty useful. I can't answer that one, Sabra. I'm sorry. Skeletal, in that case, Hungerford, do you think the best thing to do is open a dialogue on social media? I think opening a dialogue on the CID forums and any other place where you and all the other War Machine players can discuss it is a great thing. Myself and Pagani are we're on basically all the social media groups. That doesn't mean we can see all the posts though, because there's so many of them.
There's a lot, yeah.
So my honest recommendation is if you really want to have a conversation that we look at, that you can have a much better chance that we look at, go to the CID forums, especially if you can put up a battle report. If you can put up a battle report that shows sort of your point, demonstrates your point with your thoughts, you're just increasing the odds that it's something that we, me, Pagani, Oz, and Souls sit down and talk about.
Well, because you can see the direct context and the relevance of what they're saying,
Yeah.
so that it's much easier to implement versus just wish listing, theory crafting, any of that.
It also stays there. Like social media, as much as Pagani and I check it, like it's constantly moving, right? So like if you have a really good discussion that happened a week ago and say we're on vacation, I was on a road trip, I didn't have internet access, you might have had a wonderful conversation that I never saw, that we just missed. So. Striker 911, how closely are you watching the Thunder Raptor changes? Very closely. I mean, obviously it's a very drastic change, especially in the third week. So we want to see what people are going to do with the Storm Raptor and make sure there's nothing too crazy. We're pretty happy with it. We think it's awesome, but you know.
And the last day for the CID is still the 17th, correct?
I do believe so. Yes, I do. So time is almost running up. Let's move on to the next change. So yeah, get your Storm Raptors out there real fast. Play them, little tiny nukes. Bridge and Call. Bridge and Call went down to 7 points. There's not much more to say about this. They were slightly overcosted for what they were doing. They're a tough one. You know, Bridge and Call might be like a 7.5. They are good, but at the same time, you know, there's certain aspects that you can, if you take Bridge out, you can really hurt what Call's doing, but we like how they are functioning. So we're testing them out at 7, seeing what that does to people's army lists. It's probably going to stick, but show us what you think. Actually, I think the CID ends on the 19th.
I'm double checking.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the 19th, not the 17th. The Bloodweaver Night Witch.
September 17th.
Is it September 17th?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Because that gives them through the weekend,
I've
basically.
been on vacation. I started growing a mustache.
You sure did.
I forgot. The Bloodweaver Night Witch. She gained AD. The rest of them have AD. This just made sense. I mean, with all the things that she's, you know, we wanted her to keep up with the unit that she's going to be hanging out with. So this was a pretty basic, actual quality of life change. Oh, Lord of the Feast. Who here still played Mark 1? If you were here from Mark 1, from back in the day, I want you to raise your hand in chat right now. You remember old Lord of the Feast, don't you? You remember old Blood Reaper, don't you? So, give it Blood Reaper back. He works just how you remember, you know, from back in the day. We're going to keep a very close eye on Lord of the Feast being a giant murder machine. Him throwing the bird in, now he gets to come in. Basically, bird, move up, and Thresher, and it works properly. Get all the corpses, do his whole thing, especially with the new abilities we've given him where he gets the additional strength and armor. Like, this is a return to form of Lord of the Feast as you remember him from when he first came out. I see a lot of hands going up in chat right now. Do we think that's too good? No. With how the game has evolved and where the game is now, is kind of a Mark 1 Lord of the Feast a problem? No. As long as it is properly costed. So, test it. You know, let us know what you think. Show us what you can do with them. And let us know if you're happy with them. And let us know if you still think the Lord of the Feast is something that you're going to put in your armies. Because that... One thing to get across is that in a CID, we're not trying to make every... If you're a tournament player, you're always just going to look at the top 5% of everything. If you're like high-end tournament player, there's always going to be the best, right? And you're probably going to try and figure out what the best is. But you might like to experiment. You might like to have some creativity and try some other things in your list. You might want to try and catch people off guard with some dark horsing. You know, and then for non-tournament players, you just want the models that you play in your army to be fun, and you want to be able to play in a tournament and have a good time and win some. We want everything to be viable. It doesn't have to be the absolute best. So the question is the Lord of the Feast viable? If it's viable and you can see yourself running it in lists, great. If it's going to dominate every single list and you feel like you can't play without taking it, problem. And if you look at them and go, I would never ever play with this thing, problem. So play it, let us know. John is scrolling my chat right now. John, why are we going backwards? I can't see the new questions.
Because someone had their question missed and I was looking for it.
Oh. Circle Dan, is this the final CID round? This is the last week. So if you want to get your battle reports in, get them in now. Matt gets such a lonely Hungerford. I am all alone. Pagani Nas left me.
So it was Travis. He had a question on: is there any reason Call doesn't have Tree Walker when every other male Tharn has it?
That's the question you scrolled up for Travis?
Yeah.
Scroll back down.
Yep.
Okay. What is the next CID?
Love you, Travis.
The next CID should be I believe it'll be the Scorn Exalted, but we haven't set any sort of start dates or anything like that. Travis knows I love him. By the way, Travis, good luck on moving all your miniatures. I saw that you're moving your entire collection. I hope that...
He's got a couple factions.
Dude has like... Travis, say in chat real fast how many miniatures you have. It's an absurd amount.
It's ridiculous. I've seen the pictures. It's like I've worked here for 2 years. A little over actually. I played the game in Mark 1 and early Mark 2.
Yeah.
So I had and have quite a few, and nothing compared to Travis.
Yeah. So Travis has 4,432 models. He has almost the entire line.
Sorry, 4,451.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, 4,451. That is Dark Legacy, one of our Infernals. You'll often see him on the rules forums answering the more technical rules questions you may have about certain interactions and stuff like that. And in a complete and wonderful madman who owns, at this point, damn near every model we make. There might be like a handful he's missing. So good job, Travis. Still not answering your question. The Well of Ouroboros, we looked at the changes it made, including the fact that you get to gate in a free 5-point model and realized that we had undercosted it. 10 points is way too cheap. I mean, you get to bring in a free 5-point solo that can break theme force restrictions, and you just get to choose midway through the game to get the right thing. I mean, that's better than just saying this thing costs 5 points. It's really amazing. On top of all the other synergies of what the Well is doing, 10 was undercosted. 12 is where it's at right now. We're really happy with 12. And then the last change we made in the CID is another kind of spicy one. It was the fourth benefit of the Devourers Host theme force. We changed it so now that every model that has Heart Eater that can have a corpse token starts with 1 versus you handing multiples out. We definitely heard everyone's thoughts about the Death Wolves and how they were warping people's list building. Now with putting everyone having a single corpse token across the board, that evens things out a lot, and I think that's really great for certain units, like having the Ravagers all start with 1, and being able to have your Lord of the Feast start with 1. Just everybody that has that ability starts with a corpse, and in the Tharn theme force, that's going to be super powerful. We're actually, I don't want to say we're concerned, but we're looking at the battle reports with a close eye on that theme benefit and making sure that it's not too powerful. Everyone reads it and goes, oh, that's fantastic, and it's really strong. And it's like, yeah, it is really strong. Is it too strong? So let us know. So that's all the CID changes we made for this last week, going on to the 17th. We're going to go to chat for a little bit. I'm going to catch up with a couple of chat questions and see if there's any that I can answer, and then we're going to get things down. Any particular army compositions that have not seen much in the way of battle reports that the dev team would especially like to see? We've actually seen, okay, so everybody in the Circle CID, give yourself a round of applause. Week 1, yeah. Week 1, y'all did more battle reports than I think any CID cycle did, and I think more than a couple in a single week, and then I think than a few CID cycles did in their entirety in the first week. So good job. We've seen a ton of variety, like just an absolute ton of variety. Krennic16 says, regarding the Devourers Host change where everyone gets a single corpse token that can have one, will it not force Ravagers in most lists to be the optimal choice? Ravagers are supposed to be the rank and file units we want to see played in the majority of Devourers Host lists. They are the common soldier of a Tharn list. So if we see everyone kind of going like, well, I guess I'm going to put a unit of Ravagers in our Devourers Host, that's okay. As long as it's not like too much. As long as it's not like literally edging out every other choices. And given the amount of utility you have in your other units, I would be surprised if Ravagers edge out everyone else.
Matt Gatz has a question. You just got back from Mount Rushmore.
I did. I went on a 8-day road trip across Glacier National Park, Yellowstone, Rushmore, Devil's Tower, and all kinds of stuff. And I grew a mustache. It's not done yet. I'm starting. I grow facial hair
You grew
terribly.
something like a mustache.
It's just awful.
So he asks, if the circle made Mount Rushmore into a wold,
Yeah.
how many points would it cost, and what would its animus be?
It would be a gargantuan. So I'd probably cost it at about 34 to 36 points.
Leaning towards 36 points because I know what its animus is going to be.
What do you think its animus is going to be?
Freedom.
Oh, I was going to say its animus is Merc. Actually, I'm sorry. It has 4 animuses because it has 4 different... It's got attack types, but they're not attack types. They're just like ability types. And you just switch which face is currently showing. And when you do, it's like Sturm and Drang. You pick it in the maintenance phase, which president is currently showing, and then all the abilities and the animus changes based on what you've got. I'll have it for you later, Gets.
Freedom.
How attached are you to Sacred Word on the Harspecs? We do really like that ability. Show us if you, again in the battle reports, if you think it's not being useful, if you've got issues with it, and tell us why. Overall, we're very happy with the Harspecs and what's going on. Let's see. What other questions do we have?
While you're looking at that, I have a special announcement regarding Get Your Paint On tomorrow.
Go on.
It's going to be extra dope because, as you may recall, we did that Formula P3 My Monster coloring contest for Monster Apocalypse.
I absolutely remember.
We got a bunch. I finally finished going through all of them. So I picked a number of them. Like there's somewhere between like 10 and 15, right? That like I was like, okay, I can't narrow this down any further. But here's a selection of super awesome ones to then send to Dallas and Ron and other people that are going to judge and pick a winner.
Yes.
So sent those to Dallas, and he's like, you know what would be extra dope? I was like, what's that, Dallas? He's like, let's go over those top 10-ish on the stream tomorrow, discuss like how we would achieve those paint schemes and stuff. So if you, dear community, did the coloring contest, tune in tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific, and there's a pretty good chance that that you might see your creation up on the stream as Dallas discusses how he would go about achieving it, why he thought the color scheme was cool and stuff like that. Judging is still underway, so we don't have a winner just yet, but you'll get to see a good selection of what the community did, and that's pretty dope.
Sounds good. I look forward to that. You should too. A couple of questions. Yigmathor asks, are you concerned about Iona's playstyle being super passive as shown in the reports? We actually talked about this earlier in the stream. We are aware that she is definitely sort of a mid-backline caster, but she's strong and she's good at what she's doing. We know that she's not like the most up-in-your-face Chromac 2, Barnabas 2 style caster, but she has amazing late game. So her right now playing as sort of this support the army, get everyone up there, let them do their thing, then she's kind of super hard to pick out and assassinate off. And then as the game winds down with attrition, she can get in there and mix things up and get some damage done. Could we make her more active? Yes. Would we be looking at ways to do that through the battle reports? Yes. So we'll be seeing what people say, but is her level of, what's sort of what I'm looking for, sort of activity correct right now? We're okay with it, but let us know what you think. Are there options beside hyper-aggressive being considered for the Wolds on the new well? No, we like hyper-aggressive. That doesn't mean nothing's set in stone. That's why it's in CID. But we're pretty pleased, and also it's a huge base that deploys far up that has a 12-inch bubble that gives hyper-aggressive. It's effectively the board for what it matters. So we like how it's working, and we like what it does. And hyper-aggressive, it's not everybody's favorite ability, but 2 players of equal skill know about it. 1 player is never going to trigger it on accident, but it still forces a question. Do you want to shoot this at range and know it'll get closer to you? No? Then I'm not going to shoot it. If all that ability does, it says, in this situation, don't shoot my wold, that's pretty good.
I see. I and the chat see what you did there with, you were talking about the wolves and nothing set in stone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well played.
Yeah. What answer would you use to shut down / slow down the Thunder Raptor? What answer would I use? I would probably play Maylock with 4 units of posse, and I'd just run straight at it and let it hit me with a bunch of PAL 14s and laugh. But we'll see. Seconding FA3 Ravagers, let us know in the battle reports what you think. Wills and team, please look at the win rate versus ret in your analysis of battle reports. We look at the win rate versus all the factions and pay very close attention to it.
Alex got a good question. Be honest, Will. Did you ever try to get your boy created as a character in the game during the CID?
Which boy?
I'm pretty sure he's talking about Chuck Dogwood.
Chuck Dogwood?
Yeah.
We haven't said. Don't worry about Chuck Dogwood. Don't worry about him. FA3 Blood Trackers, Circle Dan says, no. No. I see a lot of people in chat talking about like a lot of the wolves don't necessarily want to move, or they can't move. You're right, some of them can't move, but that doesn't mean that not all of them don't want to. There's too many game variables to say that in all situations they're not going to want to move. I mean, there are so many moving parts in a game of War Machine that having any out of activation movement tricks is always pretty valuable if it makes your opponent have any sort of decisions they have to make. And the more decisions your opponent has to make, the more things they have to consider. They might make mistakes, it might throw them off, it might not, it might stop them from doing something that they don't know you're planning on doing. Is hyper-aggressive the most powerful ability in the world? No, countercharge is stronger, but it's good.
One of them that scrolled by, and I'm paraphrasing because it was longer, but basically, you mentioned the number of battle reports that we got at the beginning of the CID and throughout it.
It was succulent.
What do you think attributes to that? Like, what do you think may have caused that? Is it just the subject matter, or do you think it's because we teased some of it a little bit early? What do you think?
It's hard to tell. Like some communities, there are definitely trends with each of the communities. There are passionate people within every single one of them. There's definitely different sort of play styles, individual community champions. People sort of like gather around different groups. And Circle's always been a really, really passionate and enthusiastic one. Tharn they knew was coming for the longest time. We had the break where we did Retribution in between. So I think the slow build up just kept going, so that when we finally gave it to everybody, everybody had time to digest. It was coming for so long. They just hit it as hard as they possibly could.
They had thoughts, they had lists, they had opinions.
Yeah. Saber says it's because Circle's the best. That is demonstrably untrue. It's minions. So let's get a couple more questions, and then we're going to... Yeah.
That's Retribution.
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, by a lot.
No. So let's see if we got any other questions to hit before we start shutting this bad boy down. FA2 blood trackers, we're probably not increasing the FA of blood trackers, everybody. So I'm sorry. Just, they're going to stay how they are. So Zombie Dude, is there a concern about durability for differing? Is there a concern about durability for differing durability on medium-based multi-wound durability across CID cycles? No. No. Red Death M. Given the floating nature of the well, any thoughts on giving models the ability to see and move through the well? It might significantly help the positioning of the well. We talked about it. That was something we saw talked about in the forums. We discussed it for a bit. It's not something we want to explore right now. We're okay with you having a position where it needs to be and it just being what it is, and you have to play around it. It's not to say it's completely off the table, but after initial discussion, it wasn't something we wanted to explore. That model's already got a lot of rules. It's got a lot of stuff that's going on. And honestly, if we added that rule, we probably need to take something off. Not at the moment. Cheddar Caveman, any attention to the Tharn Shaman? He seems to not be contributing much. We're pretty happy with what the Tharn Shaman is doing, man, to be honest. From the battle force we've seen him in, which hasn't been the majority by any means, but every time we've seen him come up, we're kind of okay with what he's doing. DGC, during Grey Clampet, says, how big is the Thorn CID? You'll find out. It's got a lot of stuff in it. But yeah, you'll find out.
There's a lot of Skyrim models.
Yeah, we can't tell you just yet. Sorry, everybody. And let's do one or two more questions. Unplayable Trash Panda says, the well doesn't use half its rules in a given game, though. We'll talk about that for 1 second. So the well is a really interesting design in that it does a lot of different things for different armies. You may never use the Wolds hyper-aggressive. The gun may not be relevant to you. You may never use the additional control range. This is the design of the well. This is what we want it to do. It is very Swiss Army knife. It is going to have a lot of different utility in a lot of different armies. So People might say, well, it seems unfocused. But that is its focus. It's almost like if you think about the Celestial Fulcrum has these different elemental weapons, and they all do very different things. The Well has all these different utility abilities that are going to fit in a certain list. Sometimes you might use 2 of them. Sometimes you might use 1 of them. You're probably going to be able to get some value out of that gun, depending on how close to a zone you put it out. And then being able to gate in a 5-point solo for free midway through the game, there's no way that's not useful at any given point. So which of the other abilities do you end up using? It really depends on your list. And maybe you can leverage to get 2 of them out. But to say that it's like not doing anything, or it's too scatterbrained, or it doesn't use half of its rules, it's okay for it to not use a couple rules on its list. We're fine with that. We like that it is not pigeonholed into a single type of theme force, even though it is a walled structure. And we're interested to see the different things people can do with it. So it is open-ended on purpose.
Subversive actually is a good way of putting it. If I don't eat lunch, I don't need the toothpick on my Swiss Army knife. But when I do eat lunch, I get value out of that toothpick.
Sure. Now, that doesn't mean we're like saying the Well is 100% perfect. We want to make sure the value it is providing in each of the lists is still good. You know, and so is the things it's doing valuable? We're paying a really close attention. So, you know, let us know what you're doing in your battle reports and get creative. Like I said early in the beginning, we were talking about Iona, and I was saying the one weird thing I haven't seen yet is somebody running Iona with a ton of druids, just because it's weird and you can reroll all the magic attacks on the feet. It's not really good, but it's playable. I want to see some people be creative and do some strange things. So last question we're going to answer before we get done here. Somebody was saying, how do I deal with the Storm Raptor if I don't have budget heavies? That is too open-ended of a question. There's so many factions, there's so many options, there's so many different types of lists. I mean, you know, how does Primal Terrors feel like dealing with a Storm Raptor with all it's bringing? How does all the Mana War, Gatorman?
There are options for
if you don't have
magic. There's so many different ways you could do that.
I see sometimes that people feel pinned down because whatever's really popular right now, their faction may not have access to it in a certain way, and so they feel they can't answer things. So if you're not playing Crix, you don't have Slayers, right? We know the Slayer spam is really popular in the meta, and you know you might be like, well, I can't do something as strong as this. How can I possibly answer it? Work within your community to discuss things, and if nobody can come up with an answer, experiment. The game is so big now. War Machine has so many options. It is so deep and wide in terms of tactics and strategy that you can find answers you may have never thought. You just have to get creative and play and try around. So how do I deal with the Storm Raptor without budget heavies? I'd say there's limitless possibility depending on what you're playing. So that's the end of the CID. Don't forget, it's going on, or the CID chat today. It's going on until the 17th, so you got this week to do things. A couple things I want to remind everybody. We're streaming tomorrow. We stream 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tomorrow's Get Your Panel with Dallas, and we're going to be going over the coloring contest for the Monpok stuff. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be really cool. And if you entered one in, you know, you might have a chance to win. Model-wise, I just want to remind everybody that the current mini crate is coming to a close very, very soon. So mini-crate.com, you can pick up the little writing rose. And if you do the VIP...
Rose Riding Hood?
Little red rose. I'm just going to call her that for now. So you have until the 19th to sign up for her. And then if you sign up for the 6-month subscription at any point during this cycle, with the next miniature you'll get the Alexia. The Alexia handmade model is phenomenal.
So good.
Really pick one up. And then if you are a fan of things that are good and you want a happy life and you want your children to be happy and raised right, go to mini-crate.com/L5R and get on the email for the Legend of the Five Rings mini crate to learn more about what's going on. So that's it, everybody. Thanks for chatting with me. This has been a weird episode. I'm by myself and I have like half a mustache and I don't know what to think about. I just missed my boys. They're all gone.
They are.
So
they're all off doing stuff.
They'll be at Attack X, everybody. So
Kamloops, Canada.
We'll see you next time. See you tomorrow. Goodbye. Goodbye. They turn the lights off in a bit and then I just sit here by myself. I don't get to get out of this room.